Close your eyes. You are rich. The kind of wealthy where you never check price tags. Now open them. It is the year 2000 BC in ancient Egypt. You are a provincial governor, a billionaire by modern standards. But your sprawling mansion is actually a mud hut, and your luxurious bathroom is a literal hole in the dirt. Because air conditioning is 4 millennia away, at sunrise your bedroom becomes a literal oven. You are forced to wake at 4 a.m. every day. For breakfast, you sit down to a feast of duck, figs, and bread. But with your first bite, you hear a loud crunch. Egyptian flour is ground using heavy stones, which means coarse sand gets into absolutely everything. By the time you reach 40, your teeth are ground down to painful exposed nubs. And sleep offers no relief. Instead of a feather mattress, you rest on a wooden frame strung with coarse rope. To protect your incredibly expensive wig from getting crushed, you don't use a soft cushion. You rest your neck on a rigid, carved block of wood like this one, waking up every single morning with severe spinal pain. Yet, physical misery is the least of your worries. Your immense wealth is entirely conditional, dependent on the whims of a single ruler. If you make a minor administrative error, like providing the Pharaoh with an incorrect harvest projection, he can seize your land, execute you, and systematically chisel your name off every monument. In an instant, you are erased from history and condemned to wander as a starving shadow. While your status grants you access to fine meats and expensive artifacts, it cannot buy you a mattress, cool air, or sand-free bread. You are trapped in an oven-like climate, living in perpetual fear of a ruler who can delete your very existence. Jump forward to Rome in the year 100 AD, and the physical environment finally begins to yield to human engineering. As a wealthy senator, you sleep in a real bed with a wool and feather mattress. You have indoor running water, and thanks to the hypocaust underfloor heating system, you walk barefoot on warm Italian marble, while the rest of Europe shivers in mud. But this new comfort demands a total sacrifice of privacy. Take a look at these stone benches. They are communal latrines. When nature calls, you sit thigh to thigh with 20 other politicians discussing tax policy. And to clean yourself, you use a single sea sponge attached to a stick, which you rinse in a communal bucket of vinegar and leave for the next senator. Outside the bathroom, the social threats have evolved. You don't worry about a god-king erasing your afterlife, but you do worry about the state's bank account. If the emperor's treasury runs low, he doesn't bother raising taxes. He simply accuses a wealthy senator of treason, orders his execution, and confiscates his entire sprawling estate to balance the budget.
Because of this, Roman survival requires an exhausting, permanent balancing act. You have to display enough opulence to command respect in the Senate, but appear poor enough to avoid attracting the emperor's greed. Hosting a dinner party is an exercise in extreme paranoia, as any guest complimenting your silver platters might secretly be an imperial informer plotting your demise. By Rome's peak, the elite successfully insulated themselves from the cold and the dirt, but they traded physical discomfort for severe psychological torture, living every day anticipating an execution order from their own government. By 1250 AD in England, the Roman systems of underfloor heating and indoor plumbing are distant memories. You are a powerful baron, but your home is a heavy stone fortress built to stop Vikings, not to trap heat. The thick walls and gaping window holes ensure your living quarters are perpetually freezing.
To stave off hypothermia, you wear heavy layers of linen, wool, and thick fur 24 hours a day. The concept of drinking water is basically suicidal due to bacterial contamination. Instead, you consume a full gallon of ale every single day, not to get drunk, but to maintain a low-level calorie shield against the biting cold. In this era, a single hand-illuminated book, like this Latin manuscript, costs the equivalent of an entire working farm. You sit squinting at it by weak candlelight, breathing into your hands to stay warm. Without an emperor to keep the peace, the threat landscape fragments. Your stone castle and full granary make you the only target worth attacking in the county. You live under the constant threat of siege warfare from your own cousins and neighbors. If they can't starve you out, they will launch plague-infested animal carcasses over your walls to infect your water supply and liquefy your insides. You own the land and control the local army, But your towering wealth makes you a highly visible target in a lawless, frozen landscape where survival means continuously fighting off your own peers. Let's escape the plague and step into the Gilded Age of New York City in 1895. The Industrial Revolution has introduced liquid cash and conquered the physical environment. Inside a Fifth Avenue mansion modeled after a French palace, you finally have a porcelain flush toilet, manual hot water, and safe parasite-free food preserved in an icebox. But luxury quickly builds a new kind of prison. The strict rules of high society dictate that you wear 3 layers of heavy, restrictive black wool, and you must change into a new specialized outfit up to 4 times a day, sweating profusely through your collar, even in the sweltering 95-degree heat of a July afternoon. Outside your palace doors, extreme wealth has triggered violent class warfare. The newspapers constantly publish cartoons demonizing you as a ruthless robber baron. Factory workers are unionizing and rioting in the streets, meaning you cannot safely leave your front door without a private army of armed Pinkerton guards. Inside your social circle, the peer pressure is suffocating. Wealth is a mandatory, high-stakes performance. Minor infractions, like wearing the wrong white tie to the opera or serving lukewarm soup at a dinner party, can result in your entire family being declared socially dead and permanently blacklisted. The Gilded Age elite successfully insulated themselves from the brutal realities of nature, but they ended up as total captives to intense public hatred on the streets and ruthless social conformity in their own drawing rooms. Welcome to New York City, 2025. Perfect climate control and on-demand everything are completely solved equations, but instead of flaunting your status, you practice stealth wealth. You dress like you are unemployed, hiding your multi-billion-dollar net worth behind a plain $4,000 gray hoodie. In the modern era, visibility equals danger. Drawing attention to your massive fortune invites severe public resentment. Virtually guaranteeing your face ends up as the primary target on a Kill the Rich subreddit. Even the concept of a wealthy feast has vanished. Instead of indulging, you endure strict biological optimization. You monitor real-time glucose spikes with wearable sensors and consume a green sludge made of raw kale and collagen, choking it down purely to squeeze another 14 minutes out of your life expectancy. This data network illustrates the Billionaire's digital leash, the algorithmic trading systems that bind your net worth to global news feeds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Watch what happens to the market line here. If you decide to go offline for an hour and miss an unexpected inflation report, automated algorithms instantly trigger a massive sell-off. You can lose $200 million in exactly 4 seconds. Stepping away from the screen is an immediate financial liability. Immense wealth now functions as a relentless, inescapable connection to global data streams. The sheer scale of your fortune requires you to remain continuously tethered to the digital anxieties of the entire planet. To escape this constant influx of threats and noise, you attempt to flee the physical world. You invest in multi-million-dollar subterranean bunkers buried everywhere from the mountains of New Zealand to the coast of Monaco. But this drive to disconnect creates a profoundly lonely existence. You spend hundreds of hours a year isolated in a pressurized metal tube cruising at 40,000 feet. You own a massive global real estate portfolio, but practically speaking, you live without structure. You are essentially homeless. You try to buy safety with thermal scanning turnstiles and facial recognition panic rooms, but your physical security is completely irrelevant because your digital footprint is massive. Malicious actors don't need to breach your mansion walls. They use open-source data to track your digital exhaust, locating your family members out in public. Through a simple smartphone lens, they can silently record your child at a coffee shop and immediately demand a massive ransom in untraceable Bitcoin. This creates a unique paradox. While a medieval peasant was physically bound to their land, they possessed a level of relative anonymity that a modern billionaire, whose location and data are constantly harvested, can never achieve. Over 5,000 years, humanity completely conquered the mud, the cold, and the disease that plagued early elites. We have optimized every physical detail of the elite existence, yet we merely traded historical hardships for a life burdened by profound isolation, digital paranoia, and an undeniably empty heart.